What if we created a classroom filled with students who are engaged less than 50% of the time? Work harder to avoid reading rather than to put forth the work it would take to read and have writing skills below grade level.
What if we created a classroom filled with students who have a school isn't for me attitude, difficulty comprehending auditory and printed text, as well as difficulty organizing thoughts about our text?
What if we created a classroom of students who see the curriculum as irrelevant to their lives, come from destabilizing conditions outside of school, and are not given much additional support inside of school?
This is just what Christy Rush-Levine did at Lukansik Middle School in Romeoville, Illinois, a Chicago suburb.
The Voices Strong class in particular is about first engaging kids and then accelerating the rate at which they acquire the needed skills in order to be successful.
By wrapping strong arms around reading and writing workshop, Christy inspired disengaged students to believe in themselves as readers and writers.
1, 2, 3. When I say 21, you say voices. 21
Voices!
21
Voices!
When I say voices, you say strong. Voices.
Strong!
Voices.
Strong!
We are 21 voices strong. Voices strong. Voices strong. We will be heard.
We will be heard!
We use language to define who we are and who we want to become.
We use language to define who we are and who we want to become.
We write unapologetically to mark our times, mark our lives.
We write unapologetically to mark our times and mark our lives.
We write for the benefit of others and ourselves because our stories matter.
We write for the benefit of others and ourselves because our stories matter.
We matter. We are 21 voices strong. Voices
Strong! Voices strong!
What struck me most about the 24 Voices Strong classroom of Christy Rush-Levine was that the kids themselves, you could see how they took ownership, and she made this program theirs with this mantra that they recite every day, and we saw how totally powerful it was, especially because just right in the middle of class, something had sparked one of the students to say, you know, let's do the mantra again, because it was so meaningful to them. They all stood up, they all said it, they were rejuvenated by saying that, and so that was really exciting. They all had a confidence about them, and you could see how Christy was just amazing, how she built this confidence in these students who were disengaged, feel a part of the world, you know, a part of the school and what they have to say verbally and in writing, that it matters and it counts, and you could really tell that was happening.
Having put me on his heart map, I realized that there's something.
Okay, I did too. No, it was his gut map. I did it first.
Oh, gut map. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you told me.
Gut map. I realized that something that should be on my heart map isn't, and it's going to be pretty close to the center, and that is 21.
Jump Street.
One of the most exciting things that I remember about the visit to Chicago is seeing how these kids are just really valued and respected by the teacher. And I really feel like a lot of these children from the very start have felt like they're not valued or respected, and they're just failures, I guess, in life and at school. And this teacher goes out of her way to make sure that they know that they're special, that they're important, they have a voice in the world, and that they're reading and writing, and just who they are can make a difference in the world. And I think that really motivates them to be engaged, to do their very best, to just come to school expecting to be able to learn and to be successful, rather than coming expecting to fail each day. So that was really exciting for me to see that these kids just realize finally at this point in their lives that they can make a difference in the world.
One of the reasons we wanted to visit Christy's Voices class was because of the astounding results and growth her students showed. In fact, The students' growth on their standardized assessments was so high, Christy's district asked her to help establish a voices class in each of the 5 middle schools. Christy smiles as she talks of the simple and inexpensive power of giving teachers the autonomy to teach through reading and writing workshops to the specific points of need, first engaging students, then ultimately increasing literacy skills at a faster pace than a regular language arts class.
As I was thinking about the Voices Strong class and my inclusion classes, I realized that they are really 2 different things. The Voices Strong class, probably one of the main pieces is the engagement piece. And once we have these kids engaged, then we can move at an accelerated pace to catch these kids up to where they need to be. Whereas with our inclusion kids, even though there are many bits and pieces that I could use from Voices Strong with the inclusion kids, the whole class itself is not appropriate, because our inclusion class, often we need to break skills down into much smaller pieces, and we need to move at a slower pace to keep these kids up. They still need to be engaged, but we need to look at things a little bit differently for our inclusion class.
After sitting in Christy's workshop of Voices Strong classroom, I realized after a few minutes that our literacy framework supports the kind of instruction that she's giving this group of kids. When I first walked into the classroom, the thing that I was drawn to was the shelves of books and baskets of books, and just inviting readers to come and browse through the shelves and to find a book to read. And so that was one of the things that I noticed first. Another thing that I noticed that I thought was very powerful was the seating arrangement in her room. She had her desk in a U shape, and then in the middle there was an open space that had a rug, and then some comfortable chairs that students could choose to sit in during their independent reading time. And this was very subtle, but she had the chairs on the outside of the desk, so the chairs were not behind the desk. And as I thought through that in the following days, I realized, desks can really be barriers. And what she had done by placing those chairs in front of the desk was that it helped to build community among those group of students, and that it set the environment up for students to feel comfortable to share and to talk about their thinking and their learning in that class. Her room, I felt like it was so neat to go around, because it was like going on a scavenger hunt. There were things all along throughout the room that I didn't notice at first, but as I got up and walked around, and all of it was like uplifting or showing how important literacy was. So like she had quotes everywhere, pictures of authors, pictures of book covers, and other things that had to do with literacy. When I think about the instruction, she always started out with some book talks, which was very powerful. And I mean, the kids were sitting there just kind of like glued. Her eyes were on theirs, completely quiet, as they listened to some books that they could put on their Sunday list. And I even wrote down some books that I put on my Sunday list to read. The instruction, it was a little bit different in the focus lesson. She really modeled the gradual release of responsibility. And so like she would have a teaching point, she would model it, the kids would practice that as they were annotating text, and then she would come back and model, and then it would go back and forth like that. And then they had a practice time to work on that. And then they went into writing, and that's when they were able to turn their chairs around when they were working on a longer project, and they could use that desk for a work table.
Because of the connection to Wallace's literacy framework, Both Shelley and Andrea felt comfortable making changes to their classrooms over the weekend, positioning themselves even more to reach Common Core and student needs through workshop teaching.
I was struck by how purposeful Christy was with her planning and how intentional she is that each day she is teaching in a way that is reflective of her core beliefs. Christy is a reader and a writer herself, and so she uses that to inform her instruction and to inform her conferences. Christy is also very intentional about connecting kids to books, about connecting real life to the kinds of work and the kind of writing and reading that's happening in her classroom. And she's also intentional about connecting and building relationships within her classroom. Everything she does, from her teaching points to her book talks to the way that her classroom is organized, is all about helping kids become stronger readers and writers.
This classroom was really effective because there were very high expectations set for all the children, even though many of them were kind of bubble kids who usually don't pass I-steps and had really destabilizing conditions at home. She still expected the very best from them with behaviors and with their work effort. She made them write about things that mattered. When they wanted to just do anything and slap something down on the paper, she communicated to them that that was not acceptable because what they have to say is important and they have a great voice and they need to really consider what it is they want to communicate to the world because they can make a difference. So that, coupled with her compassion and caring and just love, sincere love for the kids, just really made a difference to engage these students for the entire block so that there weren't behavior issues. They were really using every single moment with intentional instruction to really learn and to make the most of every opportunity while at school.
Finally, Christy is an extremely reflective practitioner. She's constantly thinking about what just happened in her class and what she's going to do next. I was thankful for this experience because it was just a remarkable observation of what reading and writing workshop looked like in a very pure and beautiful form.